So hi and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be installing these Hyperglide skates here on this Finamouse Air58. Now if you've not been following my channel, I do things slightly different here. We use a force gauge meter here that measures the force required to push the mouse across these pads here that I use as the baselines at the moment, the G640 here from Logitech, SteelSeries QCK, MP510 from Coolmaster, and the BenQ ZOWIE GSR SE Diva. Once we've took all the measurements on those pads, we'll discuss them individually and talk about which ones are faster, which ones are slower, to help you understand if you want more control or you want more speed. And we'll compare these statistics using charts. Then we'll compare the Hyperglides against these standard stock feet here to give you an idea what kind of gain you're going to get by upgrading these, if you're going to get some more speed or you might get more control depending on how they perform, and if it's worth you spending the money on some new Hyperglides. We'll be using a hairdryer to take them off, to heat them up. We'll also be using a caliper here to see if you get any additional lift off, or whether they're lower to the pad or whether they're just the same as the stock feet. And we'll also be using scales here to weigh them to see if it adds any additional weight, although from my experience with skates it's going to be very minimal anyway. If you haven't been following my channel, I have a website which is beardedbob.com where I have all the comparison information. I'm slowly building it, so bear with me, it's taking a bit of time. We'll eventually be able to compare all these statistics if you haven't already on that website and get an idea to see which skates work for you on which pads. I'm using the FK2 from ZOWIE to go across all pads here. I've got a lot more like Hyperfuries, Helioses from Glorious, all kinds of pads that I've been running tests on to give us some more statistics, so it's well worth checking out, especially if you want to see which skates are going to work for you. So let's go on with the install and let's do the glide test using the force gauge meter, and throughout there we'll compare the statistics and give you an idea of what's happening. So if you're not familiar how we take the measurements here across the pad, we take 4 measurements we take an NSW, which is a normal rotated pad, sideways. We take an NFW, which is normal forwards. We then rotate the pad, and we take an RSW measurement, which is rotated sideways, and we take an RFW, which is rotated forwards. Now, when the pad's in its normal rotation, the two measurements that you want to focus on, and we do that in the averages here on these charts that I'll show you, is you want to look at the NFW and the RSW, so normal forward and rotated sideways. So here are the results for the Logitech G640 pad with the standard Finamouse skates on. And if we compare this to the Finamouse with Hyperglides on the G640, you can see that the average with the Hyperglides is 27, which means they are slightly quicker, but not really a massive margin, and could even be within margin of error. So here's the results of the standard skates on the QCK Plus here, and you can see that the Hyperglides come with an average of 25, which again is within margin, which means they're very close here. They're not performing any different really to the standard skates so far. So here is the standard skates on the MP510 here from Cooler Master. If we compare them to the Hyperglides here, you can see the average on the Hyperglides is 23, and the average with the standard pads on the MP510 was 25. So again, about 2 in it here, and again, not very much. So here's the final pad. This is the ZOWIE GSR SE Divina here. When we take a look at the Hyperglides here, the average is 26, with the standard average being 29. So a little bit more here. They're certainly a little bit quicker on this GSR. But again, not really performing that great against the standard skates here. You can see the ZOWIE and the G640 here, which is a used pad, the G640. The rest are new, but they are very similar. The average being very close here. In fact, the G640 is the slowest pad here, but it is used, with the quickest pad being the MP510, which is no surprise. So the Hyperglides here against the standards, would I replace them for any better glide? Potentially not here, because I can't see any differences here really, but they are probably fractionally better, the Hyperglides, but the main difference on the Hyperglides would be the rounded edges, because the standards do have quite a sharp edge. So as always, thanks for watching this video. I hope that's been very useful for you, this installation here. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next and whether you find the Hyperglides are good or not, and I'll see you all again soon in the next video. Catch you later. Bye bye.